This is Sadaya with the Womenism, and I do want to let you guys know that my husband's going to be speaking on this episode. So please be sure that if you are a married woman, that you ask permission from your husband before listening, or you guys listen together. All right, we're back. Polygyny 101 is what I'm calling this segment, introducing her to polygyny. This is Sadaya, and I'm here with my honey bunches of oats.
Sister Lord, what's happening with you?
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, I asked you a little while ago about, letting, your first wife know that you're interested in polygyny. If a wife says that they are not interested in polygyny, does that make them selfish?
No. I think it makes her honest. It's the thing, right? I don't push poly on women like I don't push it on men. But the man has three options that, again, these are y'all God-given rights. You can, be a monogamous man, you can be a poly man and grab you a few of them, or you can be a man like the prophets and know no woman and just focus your energy on, whatever the Most High would have you do. Either one is your choice. And, one of them isn't better than the other simply because of whatever the case may be. So, with the women, it's the same thing. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
Gotcha. Can a wife want you but also not want polygyny?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but... again, it's just like a woman taking on a job. She wants the benefits that come with the job, but you don't want the work to come with the job. We as men, we realize that, anything worth having in life, you gonna have to work for it, dog. So you want that new Corvette, but guess what? Your insurance you have to pay a different type of insurance on it. When it comes to putting fuel in it, you can no longer do 87. It's always have to be 93. So there's going to be an underbelly, but I always try to look at it like this: 80-20. If you're able to get 80% of what you want, and most people don't even get that, but if you're able to get 80% of what you want, then you shouldn't complain about the 20. So the woman feels like she's with a man and he meets and checks off so many boxes in her criteria, but here's the underbelly that comes with it. She's gonna take that. You go to a good restaurant. One of the things about it is they're always gonna have a line on the door. Mm-hmm. You want the food bad enough, you're gonna stand in the line,
You mentioned in the earlier part of this segment that, one could be a Yamaha and another could be an off-road vehicle.
Yokohama Yamaha
is a keyboard.
Yeah.
That's fine. You know what? Tomatoes and oranges. Listen, I feel like it still fits.
Yeah.
My question was, do you ever think about it from a woman's standpoint before you make a move? Do you analyze this one might think that this is favoritism, or this one might think that I like this one more, when it may not be that case? Because you answered and said that you go off of the spirit, but do you ever think about it from a woman's standpoint?
I think about it from a standpoint of what she's likely to do. I'm not trying to really think like a woman because I'm not a woman. Mm-hmm. So I think that's I just think it's a futile exercise. But I do like to be 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. So one of the best ways to do that is to, almost using analytics, predict what your partner is likely to do once you bust the split. And then you can kind of prepare for that as well.
Should a man expect chaos in his home in polygyny?
No, he shouldn't expect chaos in his home with monogamy, poly, or just being by himself.
Should a co-wife expect chaos in the home in a polygynous union?
No.
So the answer is still the same. She shouldn't expect that.
No, we don't want to normalize chaos. Just like growing up in the hood, we've normalized and glamorized poverty. So now everyone's jumping at the chance to say how poor they came up. When did that become cool? Mm-hmm. Another thing too, there was a day and age where people would normalize illiteracy. I can't really read like that, dog. Like what? What? That's not cool. I'm a real nigga, but I ain't went to school. I ain't do nothing. That's not cool, dog. So we end up popularizing and glamorizing things that work to our detriment. So, having chaos in your home when you live in a chaotic world, I think it's already worse enough.
I agree with that. However, it seems, there's Facebook groups and Instagram pages where it appears that polygyny is chaotic. And most of the time, from what I can gather, is it's either coming from a man not being honest, or it's coming from women who really signed up for something that they maybe currently lack the abilities to do what is necessary in a polygynous union. So that's the reason that I asked that, because it's hard to find a happy polygynous family, or they'll see pictures and videos or whatever and be like, oh, they're just faking it, they're just pretending. So when I ask about chaos, that's where I'm coming from. Is like
most of the chaos comes from monogamy. All of the failed marriages that I've ever seen, the horrible ones, monogamy. The STDs, STIs, the having babies out of on your partner, the infidelities. I mean, you go on and on. I've seen all those through monogamy. So if we are going to look at one institution as a villain, and nothing tops monogamy here in the West. They have whole sites geared for monogamous married people to cheat on their monogamous partner. You can go make a free account and find other monogamous people, married monogamous people to go creep and cheat with. That's how bad it is. So yeah, when it comes to the level of chaos and they're faking it. When I see a monogamous couple, I automatically go there. I don't do that with poly. You know what I'm saying? Because they got a level of truth there. How much is depending on the person in the host. But what I do when I see a monogamous couple, my mind's like, oh yeah, especially they really, really trying hard to sell it. We just so. And then like 2 years later, if that, you see the breakup text, the breakup post, well, I'm just doing me now because, or they get the crying out before you even see it. And you're like, oh yeah, it's trouble in paradise. I see all that through monogamy.
Mm-hmm. So in the scriptures, Paul talks about provoking, I want to say provoking one to jealousy.
He provoked the Jews to jealousy.
Yes. Do you think that a man should do that in a polygynous union?
I don't think he should, but sometimes he may have to. We men, this is what I need the men to understand. We be trying to apply basic principle, conventional thought to an unconventional situation in an unconventional woman. She's not traditional in any of the senses. It doesn't make any sense for you to go and line up in the Fei-Ling style, right? When you have a partner who fights guerrilla warfare, that it just does not make any sense. And you're gonna just be cut down row after row after row because you want to march like Napoleon and them, and you got your girl and them there in the woods, and cause that's what they play. That's what they play by, So it doesn't make any sense. Again, what moves her? What motivates her? At the end of the day, your job is to deliver results as the man. This is why sports players, top athletes, the LeBron James and all that, the Michael Jordans, they never went on to try to be a coach. Like Michael Jordan owned some of the teams and everything like that. But LeBron, and even in football, man, these top tier players are beckoning to get under the leadership and the guidance of a knowledgeable coach. Why? Because that man has proved himself to deliver results. So as a man, that's your job. However you gotta get it done, especially if you ain't breaking no biblical laws, do your thing,
When a husband is choosing to spend time with his wife, should he base it on how well she pleases him sexually?
Say that one more time.
When a husband is choosing who he wants to spend time with, should he base it off of how she pleases him sexually?
I mean, he can. That's his prerogative. Cause maybe he really want to get one off, and maybe the mama's, she top tiered that, or maybe he good and she got it off earlier today, so he can just kind of kick it and chill and maybe vibe out with the other wife who's a bit more vibey. It just it's at his discretion.
Should wives expect their husband to show favoritism in a marriage?
Honestly, again, because a lot of the women that we deal with are already damaged when we get to them, I don't see anything good coming from them. I don't. If they came up a certain way and there were certain things that were put in them instead of it being taken from them, because the women there, they're robbed. And they help to rob themselves at some point in time too. Once they get 12, 13, 14, 15, they really start doing things on their own, they're helping to rob themselves of certain things. Like the man they first gave themselves to. You probably going to discover years on down the line, you robbed yourself of something. And then if you keep digging, you're going to realize that your aunties and your mom and them also helped to rob you of certain things by how they raised you. They set you up for failure. So again, with expecting the favoritism, I don't see anything good coming from.
But I think sometimes it is difficult for that not to brood. I think it's very difficult and I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a wife that never wears lingerie. She doesn't know anything about lingerie. And then she sees how the husband responds to another woman that's wearing lingerie. And now she goes and buys lingerie, but she doesn't get that same reception. That can cause someone's brain to go, the opposite way. And some of my questions that I want to ask you, I think are hard for me to ask you because a woman that is married shouldn't be listening to this interview. And
maybe she could listen with her husband.
That's okay. So then how does one stop those thoughts of favoritism, or I'm just never going to be good enough, I'm just never going to be able to please him? How does one prevent that? If you're saying that there's equity and fairness and using this on an equal playing field, because most of the time that's where women are at. Women are thinking that it should be completely, I want to go back to that one.
You got to think, if the man is poly and he has both these women here, how many women he has? He likes a variety. Mm-hmm. So I think it's super unfair to him and for the woman to then say, well, he likes more of this. Well, are y'all two the same? Because if you like more of that, then he would just go get more of that. Now you can see, like, when you look at a dude's exes, be like, yo, bro, you got a type.
Right.
All your exes fit a certain criteria. They all look a certain way. But, if all your exes are just worlds apart, you just like variety. So what sense does it make for a man to have the variety in the home and still for a woman to feel like he likes this more? If he liked that more, then all of y'all would be kind of fashion, or he would be trying to beat that into y'all, like dress like this, or wear your hair like that, or bleach your skin, or go tan, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, so it just doesn't make sense.
Okay, so you answered the question that equity does not involve physical features, and that's across the board. I'm talking about appearance as well as sexual. What can a wife do to be on the more equitable side with their husband?
What do you mean?
If, let's say, someone feels as though they are not getting exclusive time as often as somebody else, and you said that you will determine that not only off of the spirit, but off of equity and not necessarily fairness. So a woman that is under the impression that it should be fair and wants to now get on the side that it's more equitable to that they're selected, how do they do that? What do they do to put themselves on their husband's radar? I know that the wife is probably already on his radar, but for someone who feels that they're not on their radar, they're not on their husband's radar.
I mean, they can suggest things like, like maybe she wants to go to a certain spot or something. She could send him this, like a post on IG or whatever. Like, you can subtly implement or slide in the suggestion and just kind of like feed off of that, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then, once you get the ticket cash, then I can just roll into what it's going to roll into. But there's several ways. Women know how to be crafty when they want to be crafty. I'm saying, I'm not telling her to be crafty. I'm just saying, you should know, with your husband, how to bleep up on his radar if you feel like you're not, like you're not really casting off a signal.
Yeah, because I know that a lot of women are sometimes scared to ask questions because they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid that they're going to get a no.
So then you make, like I said, you make it hey, and instead of making it like an open ticket, you can be like, yeah, I kind of think maybe we could do something this week if you're free, or this Friday if you're free, whatever. And you just kind of see, like, first see if it's something that he would want to do. It'll probably increase your chances of him biting the bait. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. Like, if he like wine or something like that, and you found a nice little, black-owned vineyard or whatever the case may be, he's probably likely to jump on that. Or, you like rum, or just whatever it is. A new movie that came out. It's an action movie. And it's like, yeah, we've been, watching the series. You always want to lead with your strengths.
I want to touch more on like preventing the chaos and what to do if there is chaos, because I as a woman know that naturally the things, jealousy and insecurities, they come about, but it's like, what do you do with it? I appreciate you answering that about sometimes the provoking just kind of happens because you know how to make a woman move. I've seen in like a lot of polygynous unions that it's the comparison. It's a lot of comparison, especially if maybe you feel like you don't know how to communicate with your husband. Do you intentionally? I was going to ask about the sounds, the noises.
No, I don't intentionally do that. That the sounds going to go where they're going to go, and that's the vibe that we on, and if it get picked up by TMZ. But I'm not about to be in it, because if I'm having sex, it's not for theatrics. So, I'm just too grown for that. If it's more of a moan session, then that's just what it is. If it's more you gotta holler like a toddler, then that's just what it is. And then it don't be me really making a noise like that. You know what I'm saying? You hear thump, 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 thump. But it's going to be her. I can't tell her to scream on command. Like, she's just going to let it out.
Do you think that a wife should muzzle herself
No.
to prevent others from being?
Nope.
That's interesting. I feel like I do that.
I don't think a wife should.
I think in polygynous unions, like most of the families, they keep separate houses, and I think sometimes that it does keep down on these type of things. What are your thoughts on public display of affection?
I think first of all, I think the women need to hit.
Okay.
I think they need that.
Why?
Because there's something, there's a spirit of a stoutness and staunch rebellion built up in the westernized woman. Not the American woman, but the westernized woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it needs to be eradicated. She thinks she's the only one. But again, does not perform and handle business like the only one. You handle business like it's 18 of you, so it's lackadaisical, as if someone was going to pick up the slack. But there is no other one there because you've eliminated any help that you could have because you want it to just be you. So you have top tier complaining and you have lackadaisical performance. And so as a man, when you're dealing with a woman like that, who also has probably come from a home where she's seen the men be emasculated in the home if they do work there, like all they do is they go work and come on pay bills. If she didn't come up in a situation where she asked the mom something, mom was like, well, what your father say? You're gonna have a problem. If she didn't come from a situation where you got her out of her daddy house, like T.I. said, you know what I'm saying? Not a situation where she was living with the mom who, the dad was staying there. I'm talking about this is your dad's home. Your mom is married. She stays with them. If that woman does not come from that situation, bro, you have a problem. She is a beast of a spirit in woman form. So guess what? One thing you can do is bring it right back down to the primordial instincts, dog. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, a lot of women need to hear a man going to town on some cheeks that ain't hers. Yeah.
When you say lackadaisical performance, you're not talking about in the bedroom.
No, but sometimes that be it too. All they want to do is give a nigga lazy booty. Like they don't want to do nothing else. You don't want to suck no. And if you do suck it, it's only because you want some dick. You're like, you're not gonna suck. You should enjoy sucking him off. If I'm a firm believer, bro, if her joint ain't wet just from sucking your joint, then she ain't it. Her joint should be wet just from sucking you off. She should be damn near about to bust just from sucking you off. It should please her to want to please you. And you can't say that women are not into that, because let me tell you something. They pay $1,000 to take a picture with Chris Brown and men they don't even know. And if he invited them backstage and said, look, I'm not going to touch you, but you can put your lips on this wood, they're going to do it. And they're probably going to bust while doing it because they're just so eager to jump at the chance to please a man whom they don't know. Now, how much more be it a man who's paying the bills, a man's making sure that you're protected. 3 a.m. you get a knock on the door. You can't call Chris Brown, but you can call your man right there. You know what I'm saying? How much you should treat him like that. So again, I think she needs to, yeah.
What if they're inexperienced and they don't know how to do certain things? Then what should the woman do to please her husband?
Well, she should be honest about that. But that's a hard thing for, a lot of the modern women to do because, again, everything is super inflated. And that's the issue I have, where the woman is going to be inflated and she's going to uptalk herself. The man is going to be deflated and he's going to downtalk what he is or what he does. So you still have a severe disconnect there. No one's really being truthful. She needs to be truthful. Hey, I can cook clean, but I can't really suck dick that well. I'm for real. Hey, I know how to start a garden and I can suck dick, but maybe my vagina, it just doesn't get wet that much, or it just don't hit like based off previous experiences. Mm-hmm. You know what you're working with, just like every dude should be knowing what they're working with. You should be honest about it.
What if there's a talent in the household that you don't possess, that your husband enjoys, and you are not able to do that? How do you then still prevent the jealousies and the insecurities from coming about if it's something that your husband enjoys?
Again, do you love him enough to live in the fact that he enjoys it and is getting it more than the fact that you're not the one giving it to him?
So that's where it comes into play of putting your husband's needs above your own.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's something that can be taught, though.
Well, it starts at home. And most women, again, like I was saying earlier, are raised to be singular. And they're selfish. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, a lot of women today, they're selfish, lazy lovers. You get them in bed, but the moment they get off, They a rag doll. Now she wants you to keep busting and keep it up and until she get hers off, because they got all types of names for men who bust one time and can't keep it up, and then they got all kinds of names for them. But heaven forbid she get off first and you ain't. Oh boy, you sitting hitting Raggedy Annie, bro. Just a little rag doll. She just in bed. She ain't doing nothing else. She can't, and she don't even want to, because that desire is not there. Unless you match that with her knowing that there's another woman in the home, then you're going to see an increase in performance and output on all fronts from this woman.
So you mentioned that sometimes a woman needs to hear those intimacies from her husband with someone else. Do you feel that's the same as far as like talking about it? Should another wife ask you to, rate vaginas?
I believe they should talk about it so long as it does not breach the trust compact that he has with one of his wives, But I do believe that there should be a healthy discussion, a broadband discussion without, so long as it's not breaching that in the home, that would definitely be beneficial.
Why do you think that it'll be beneficial?
Because it can put to rest some of the rumors that she may be thinking are going on, or some of the tabloid sensationalism that she may have, going on in her brain. And it just, a woman will create a false narrative, put it down, pick it back up to reread it, so much to where she is now determined that this is the only thing that can be right. Like, there's no other possible explanation to this. So that's a dangerous place and space to be in. So when you have the discussions and you be like, wait a minute, and you're listening to what he's saying, you're like, wow, I never would have considered that. Well, no, of course you wouldn't have been. You've only been feeding yourself one angle from this thing. So those conversations kind of can help to like dispel a lot of these myths and boogeymen that, she may be giving herself over to.
What if when you hear them, it only fuels what you thought it was? Now what?
I'm saying, listen, sometimes she may have to have those conversations, bro. The thing is, she had someone been truthful with her before, you wouldn't have to be the boogeyman. Like, nothing you're saying and doing would be so outrageous. I can't believe he has the audacity and the temerity to do da-da-da-da-da. Because someone's already been letting her know from the jump, sweetheart. This is how I work with men. But the simps, they create these monsters in these women. And when they get with a real man, or a man who stand on business, they start glitching. And that's why I don't have a problem with women. I got a problem with simps and panderers. They are the ones who are the most dangerous, because they're going to tell a woman whatever she wants to hear. In the comments, a woman's going to lie to you because she wants to save face. She's going to lie to keep herself in a position she doesn't deserve. She's going to lie for a litany of different things. But these niggas pandering in the comment, they lie to her for no reason. They're not even taking her home to go hit it. That's dangerous. For a man to just lie to you and there's nothing that benefits him from, that's dangerous. You will lie to her right off a cliff. Yeah, honey, you need to go walk over there right now with no parachute because you a goddess. That is dangerous.
Would you say that having sugar-coated conversation falls in the category of lying? Like if a wife asks you a question and asks you to be honest and you know your answer, but you clean it up a little bit, would that fall in the category of lying?
Lying is falsifying information.
Okay.
So lying is not cleaning up information. It's not making information more digestible for the person you're speaking with. Lying is simply falsifying information.
Okay. I like it. Does coddling fall in that same category? Would you put that on the line of lying or sugar-coated conversations?
What, coddling? Mm-hmm. Probably more than like a sugar-coated.
I have to agree with you on that one. Thanks, guys, for listening in. We're going to make sure to get more of this content for you guys. Be blessed.